Who could have predicted that the 2023 season would begin in such a manner? The clash at the Coliseum, which is an exhibition race and brings no actual points to the drivers, has been absolutely terrific. Nothing beats the collision between Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, the 2022 Cup Series champion, with the two-time champion having some harsh words for the Team Penske driver. As if it wasn't enough that both of them didn't really smell each other prior to the 2023 season, we've been introduced to what could be one of the fiercest rivalries for the upcoming season. 2022 is finally behind us, and Joey Logano is now ready to defend his championship. However, he hasn't been on a good start if we're to judge by the first exhibition race of the season. And he has received a lot of backlash for his actions. A lot of changes has happened for 2023 as well, with Kurt Busch not being able to work out the sponsorship deal with JGR, and being forced to move to another team, which was Richard Childress Racing. The former Candyman has changed the number of his car, which comes by nature, and the new number 8 has shown the world that accidents like the one with Joey Logano have no effect on him, as he still finished third behind his ex-teammate Martin Truex Jr. and his new teammate Austin Dillon. But if we had been told that he and Logano would clash from day one, with both of them having old beef from the past, we would have paid money to witness the 5th of February much earlier. At one point of the race, Busch was dead last, as Logano hitting him on the back meant that Busch's car had turned 180 degrees and had to wait for the other cars to pass him so that he could rotate it straight on the track. Just a couple of hours prior to the race, Logano and Busch were in the Fox broadcast booth, offering some driver analysis of the qualifying action. They appeared to have buried the hatchet and retained some mutual respect. But after the race, and what Logano said, we've been reassured otherwise. So for the new fans out there, you may wonder why Busch and Logano don't really like each other, and why this incident, although hurtless in points, hurt so much for Busch. Back in 2017, Busch and Logano had a clash at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and when talking about this matter 4 years later in 2021, Busch had some difficult words for Logano, as he added, "The problem with Joey is he's two-faced. So people know I'm an a-hole, so I might be an a-hole on the racetrack, which I'm really not, but Logano, he'll come in here and he's laughy and go lucky, go with the flow, like super nice guy and all this stuff. Does great for charity and all the stuff like that. When you put him on the racetrack, he flips the switch on the back of his head. To me, I hate two-faced guys. That drives me absolutely nuts. Like, if you're going to be a nice guy on the racetrack as well. That fries me." Now, one needs to understand the position that Busch is in, and when everyone called him delusional for thinking that he has a chance for the championship with Richard Childress Racing after being downgraded from JGR, he proved everyone wrong. Finishing P3 after an accident like that at P3 could easily be accepted as a win. And if there is a man that can win a championship in the car that he's currently in, that has to be Busch. He has a lot of burden on his shoulders, and he needs to prove to the world that the 2 championships he won with JGR had nothing to do with luck. Furthermore, he needs to prove to the world that Ty Gibbs, the grandson of the owner of the team, was the wrong choice to replace him, and that the team made a massive mistake. That is why he went in with more motivation than anyone in this race, and the accident with this old nemesis has brought back some old wounds. Was this called for? Definitely not. From seeing the footage over and over again, it seems like Logano's move was definitely out of proportion. And if you're trying to justify a move like that, it would be like trying to justify Wallace crashing into Larson last year in Las Vegas. It makes no sense, does it? 65 laps prior to the end of the 150-lap exhibition race, Joey Logano's number 22 car went for a gap as he drove hard into the turn, without thinking about the potential consequences of his action. Joey thought that he had it all right when he made a move for a narrow gap between Austin Dillon in front of him and William Byron to his outside. But what he didn't know is that he ended up straight into the left rear of number 8's car, Kyle Busch. This saw the former Candyman finish dead last in the race, and while he fought for P3 until the end of the race, he made sure that the world heard what he has to say about Logano. After the race, he went on to the media, and when asked about the race's outcome, he added, "Logano didn't get hit by nobody. He just flat out drove through me, so he's got another one coming. I owe him a few. It's really unfortunate to be raced by guys that are so two-faced. We were in the TV booth earlier and nice together, and when we're all done with that, he's like, "Hey man, good luck tonight." And I'm like, "Okay, great, thanks, yeah, whatever." And then, lo and behold, there you go. He wrecks me. Don't even talk to me if you're going to be that kind of an a-hole on the racetrack. Using the A word is definitely not a justified move for a two-time world champion like Busch, but we do understand where he comes from. After all that, he had the support of his teammate Austin Dillon, who also spoke about this matter, adding, while there was a difference in the quality of the cars that the teams brought to the race this year, it meant that if you're faster than someone, you kind of have to bump them, because they can kind of check up on the exit of the corner and stop you. It's a brand new world that we're living in, and the current changes to the next-gen car only go to show that the sport is moving in the right direction when it comes to the safety of the drivers. But on the other hand, the two-time Cup Series champion wasn't very happy with the Coliseum race, saying that it was a disaster from a driving standards point of view. Last year, Busch felt like he was participating in relatively clean and good racing, while that couldn't be said for this year's edition of the race, as he couldn't run long stretches on green flag action. The former JGR driver also believes that this year's race had a lot of disrespect from everybody, further adding, "But it's a quarter mile. It's tight quarters racing. Actually, this is probably how it should have gone last year, so we got spoiled with a good show the first year. Maybe this was just normal." At this point, we need to see the obvious, which is that Busch actually has a chance at the championship, and the car has a lot of potential to score decent results. This was exactly what he hoped for. And we're definitely sure that M&M are going to have some hard weeks ahead of them, because they let this gem go away from them. But the clash at the Coliseum is definitely a race that needs to be deeply analyzed, because this year's edition saw a massive increase in crashes between drivers. In last season's race, there were only 5 cautions throughout 150 laps, the same amount of laps that were held for this year's edition as well. But in 2023, there were a total of 16 cautions, with all but one involving at least 2 cars, which just goes to show that the adrenaline is high and drivers are eager to prove themselves to the world. While Busch having such an impact on the sport and Logano set to be the champion in 2022, the question is, what will NASCAR decide is a proper penalty for Logano? Obviously, it was his fault, and even though it's just an exhibition race, it's very unlikely that NASCAR will let an incident like this slide through easily. With that being said, the season couldn't have started more dramatically, and if we're going to talk about it, we think that every single race of the season will be filled with anticipation through the roof. What do you think about Busch's words for Logano? And more importantly, do you believe Logano was to blame for the incident? Let us know in the comments below.